Welcome to Freedom Cast, where your hosts, Jordan and Miranda, show you how to get just a little bit more out of life. Are you ready to leave normal behind?
Hello, Freedom Casters. Welcome to this episode of Freedom Cast, Leaving Normal Behind. You have Jordan and myself here today, and we are going to be talking about something I find very interesting. How to
Fascinating
stay...
even.
Fascinating even. Low fascinating. How to stay truly connected in an overly connected world. Now, in today's society, we have about 1 million different ways that you can contact somebody. You have
snail mail.
Snail mail.
Have owls.
Email. Owls, doves, pigeons.
Yes.
Also,
cheetah messages.
Email.
Mm-hmm.
Text message. FaceTime.
Twitter,
Facebook.
Snapchat.
Twitter. Snapchat. Insta. There's so many.
We're trying to finish that. Instagram.
Insta something.
There's probably other Instas too.
I don't have a strong social media presence, so it's,
it's all
I forget.
good.
I forget.
You're making it work. I'm impressed you knew that many.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But like I was saying, there are so many options nowadays with how you can connect with people and how you can stay in contact with people. Just imagine 100 years ago, when you would have to write a letter and you would have to wait days for a response. And we live in a time where you literally get a response 2 seconds later.
It's actually really crazy when you think about that. I know you kind of want, there's part of you that wants to go back and live in those times because they're simpler times. But there's just, there's the truth that, it might be a little better to be as, unconnected in a way that they were. But Miranda's going to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, first of all, we need to realize how crazy it is that we can communicate with people so freely nowadays. People who live across the world, people who, even if they're next door, whatever, there's so many channels you can use to communicate with people. And it really does, in a way, make the world smaller. But at the same time, it also makes the world bigger because then it's, how do I want to call this person? Do I want to text this person?
Yep.
Then it's just the issue of having too many options.
Yeah, and everyone that's listening to this podcast, including us, we've done it too. Everyone has done this. They've texted a person that has been either in the room with them or in the other room. Probably most likely, if we were to think about it, we've probably texted someone that was in the room with us too. Whether it was to be funny, or whether it was out of pure laziness and I don't feel like even talking. We've all done it. We
have. I mean, we texted someone, hey, can you bring down the chips?
Mm-hmm.
You could have yelled it. They would have heard you, but no, you texted it.
Yep.
And it
happens.
I mean, we live in a world where we can do that, which is awesome.
Yep.
But it does have certain issues that come along with that. It's just the nature of the beast. There are always pros and cons with everything.
Yeah, it's so interesting because people actually report, and I don't know if this is an actual report.
This is a real report.
This is a real report. We'll try to find the actual report and reference that in our show notes. But Miranda was just typing these notes real quick. So people report from whatever report this is. That's a real thing, I hope. If not, then Miranda's completely making this up, but we'll see.
I've definitely heard it before.
Okay, people
on a report
feeling more disconnected now, more than ever, even though we have more means of connection than ever before. Which I totally believe that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be a report, an actual report, stating that somewhere.
I mean,
but I know I've heard that before,
thanks to the amazing power of Google, we can find something that reports whatever we want it to report.
Well, I love that you said that because that's true. I mean, people get, and I get worried too, like, I got to reference my sources. But yeah, you really can find pretty much anything you want, and you can say anything you want, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're going to put in the show notes about a report that reports are not very good. So that'll also be in the show notes.
Yes.
along with
We'll see if I find it.
The report I referenced.
Yes.
Very specifically. So it is crazy because we have all these means to communicate with people. We're able to stay in touch with our loved ones, even if we live, you know, like Jordan and I, we live multiple states away from any of our family. And we have...
a couple hundred to over 1,000 miles.
I was going to say a couple hundred states.
Yes, a couple hundred United States.
Just a couple hundred.
A couple hundred out of the 52.
So it's very interesting that people do feel more disconnected when there's so many ways you can stay connected.
Yep.
And I really think there's just something about the internet and being online that does isolate you in a way, as opposed to calling somebody or actually physically sitting and talking with somebody. When you were, you know, I know we talked about trolls the other week too, but we'll bring it up.
We did.
Momentarily here. Just, you feel people do that more online. People will say things online that they'd never say to your face because
they'll never come up and say something, you know, they'll never, you know, for the most part, they're not going to come up in a coffee shop and be like, hey, I read your book. Like, I hated it. It sucks. And here's why. Like, people aren't, there are people out there that there are trolls in real life. But yeah, what Miranda's alluding to is how much easier it is online to just kind of, you know, write a sentence or two or, you know, pop into a chat room real quick and just be negative. If it's not going to affect you, if the, you know, there are no repercussions for those actions, then people are going to do it.
Yeah, and it's puts that disconnect in there, and I think that is why people do feel disconnected, because it's not the whole self communicating, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Or does that sound a little woo-woo?
Sounds a little woo-woo, but yeah. Because you're not getting that reaction. If you're sitting down with someone, and that's one thing I've always thought, you know, especially about like Facebook posts and Facebook discussions. I think there are people that can do those well, but there are people out there that should not be really responding to certain things on Facebook. I mean, they just shouldn't be, because you know, for whatever reason, they don't respond in a friendly way. They respond in I'm right, you know, what I think is the most important, and that's all that matters. I think there's a way to respond, but it's so difficult, I think, to do that. It's difficult to get on Facebook and have a friendly discussion over a serious topic. Something like, you know, I mean, we don't really want to get into any of the recent issues. You can imagine the issues people have on Facebook. But just what difference of a conversation you're going to have with that person if you sit down in a coffee shop or you invite them over for dinner to discuss these issues. For the most part, you're probably going to have, even if you disagree, you're going to have a friendly conversation. But that can happen so much more often in person because you're going to be, you care about that person. You're going to see their feelings. And
you realize that they are a person. It's not a robot. You know, you're having that.
Yep.
You know, you're there. You're reading the nonverbal cues. You can see disappointment or someone getting upset, and it's so different online when you can't. You know, that happens so many times over text and emails. Things are read however the person is interpreting it. If you say, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea," you can hear it like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea." Yeah. And you get mad about it, but it's all your interpretation of how the person's saying it, because you can't, I mean, other than emojis, which are wonderful, there's only so much you can interpret from text.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, my post that I wrote on Facebook about Star Wars and how, you know, it really frustrated me that I didn't think the movie was like super great, and I was kind of sharing my opinion on that. But then some people got on, even people like I know and respect, were like, you know, you're totally wrong. And it was just very much like, there were some people that responded that were very pleasant and very like, hey, I disagree with you, you know, but that's fine. Just curious, you know, what you were thinking. And you can have friendly discussion about that. We don't need to agree. That's a very wonderful thing about being human, is we don't need to agree with each other. We often don't, but there's a way to do it. There's a way to respond to people that is friendly. You know, if you get on and say, well, you're an idiot. No one actually said this, but if they said, you're an idiot for disliking that movie, I can't believe you disliked it. I'm like, well, I can point to the fact that it has 48% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, so I can throw a little bit in.
There's definitely a report out there about people not loving the new Star Wars movie. So
there's a report. More the people that reviewed it, more people disliked it than liked it. And if you liked it, that's fine. I don't understand it. You are not going to convince me. But what we're talking about here is having a good discussion. I realize what are you laughing at?
You're just asking for it. You're like, God, I'm not going to change my mind, but
but it's one of those things. If you want to sit down with me in person and have a conversation, it's going to be much better. And I like you say, I asked for it by putting it on Facebook. I really was interested in what other people thought. I didn't expect to just kind of be, have everyone that jumped on there completely disagree with me, which, can be kind of tough when you're the only one thinking a certain way. But at the same time, we do Freedom Cast. Leaving normal behind, we kind of expect people not to agree with us, and that's okay. Miranda's like, I want people to agree with me.
I do. I'm a people pleaser, man.
No, I want at least one person to pipe in and be like, you were right, Jordan, but it is what it is. Wasn't that great of a movie? I'll just say it again.
I didn't think we were gonna get on the Star Wars
topic.
I
didn't either. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, we're gonna table that for now because that's not completely what we want to talk about here.
No, and it's all good. I am over it.
Obviously.
But it is hard. Like I think that's why I'm feeling that way. That's why I'm thinking that way, because when we post things, like we all have a need for like people to agree with us and to see our points of view. Yeah. And that, like, as much as I get into that, like there's definitely good things to talk about there, because that's what happens. People post on Facebook. They want their opinion to be validated. That's a good word. Yeah. They want to feel validated. But instead, a lot of times, especially on Facebook and on these places, like they aren't validated. And instead of just not being validated, they're, what's the right word?
Attacked.
They're attacked. They're like, and I didn't really feel attacked, but there are certain people that will jump on there and attack others. Well, how dare you think that? How dare you say those things? Like, you're completely wrong. Like, you are wrong for thinking that. Instead of coming at it, like, because you're not going to say those type of things in person. You're just not going to go up to someone, have coffee with them, be like, you're completely wrong, and like, blah, 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 and all these things. So it's just different. And that's really what we're getting at here. It's just really good. This is good discussion.
It is.
And I know I get worked up about that stuff, but I also get worked up about the fact that, like, we can't be cordial. And that's just like, that frustrates me. It really does. Because we should be able to have conversations. I'll let you talk in a second.
We should be able to have conversations.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for me, I am non-confrontational. So it's just when you see one of those conversations on Facebook, it's like, just ignore it. Don't respond. It's no one. It's like the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I just reread because it's an awesome book and because I'm trying to hit my 50 books for the year.
It is an absolutely amazing book.
You're never going to change someone else's mind by trying to shove your opinion down their throat. That has never, ever worked. People immediately... I'm sure you could find a study that said 1% of the time. Maybe. But people don't want to think someone has forced opinion on them. They want to think that their opinion, they have formulated, they have come to that on their own. So you're never going to be able to make somebody change their mind by saying, this is a bad movie, and you should think this is a bad movie. They're never going to be like... oh, you're right. I liked it, but now that you said that, like, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking.
Unless you happen to be close to the person.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Like, because I trust you, if you had a very serious, like, I really didn't like it for this reason, I'd be like,
You'd consider it, yeah.
I'd consider it. But that's, that's the thing, if you're close to someone and you're having cordial conversations,
you're not putting them up on the defensive, because when someone gets defensive, then it's all over. Like, what, you liked that movie? All over. It's just, it's silly because you're just gonna be butting heads and no one's ever gonna change. And
there's no then at that point there's no point to the discussion.
Yeah, but that's...
You can take it back, Miranda. We got on a
that's
really
all a
long
bunny
tangent,
trail.
but it was good.
Yeah. For me,
it relates.
Like I said, I am non-confrontational. I am not even going to become involved in any politically heated Facebook debate, because to me, it's just like, no, that's not gonna end well. It never ends well. So for me, I got rid of my Facebook a few years ago. And for me, it was more because of the reason of FOMO, fear of missing out. I get affected easily by seeing everyone else having their, as you call it, the highlight reel on Facebook, on Instagram, looking fabulous, on vacation in Fiji, out with their family and matching outfits, just you see it all on social media, and people typically either show their absolute best. Some people will, just wax philosophical and how, rough their life is at the moment,
or post about Star Wars and get slammed.
Yeah, or that. But for the most part, people are showing the best moments. The engagement photos, or the photos of your vacation, and for me, that affected me because seeing that all the time, you're just like, well, why am I not in Fiji? Mm-hmm. Why don't I have like a 5-story house? Why don't we own a villa in Spain? It just gets your head thinking about what you don't have instead of what you do have. And for me, that's why I had to, eventually decide that it was better for me just to get rid of Facebook, because it did make me sad. I mean, I love seeing people happy, but in the end it did. I know for Jordan this isn't an issue because he, it doesn't affect you, but for me that really did affect me.
Yeah, and I think it's important just to note here that, to make the, if you're going to totally get away from it, make that decision, it's good. It's a good thing to consider. Like, is it affecting you? Like Miranda was just saying, are you having those things, or is it not? And I really don't believe that social media is all bad. I think there are definitely, like Miranda was saying, for certain people and certain reactions to things, reasons to just get rid of it completely. But I'm not one of those people that thinks it's all bad. I don't think Miranda's not either.
No, I mean, I see the benefits of social media. I think it's fantastic, and just the technology just blows my mind. It's amazing. But it also, there'd be times where we'd be out on a hike or something, and I'm thinking, how do we get like a really good picture that we can put on social media so people can see how awesome we are and how great this hike was? And you're not thinking that exact way, but you are thinking like, I gotta get a good picture. I gotta post it up on Insta. I'm gonna get all sorts of likes. Yep. So it's just, and that's not, you want to be in the moment. You want to be there thinking, wow, this is God's creation. This is beautiful. This is an incredible experience with someone I love, and we're having great conversation. You don't want to be thinking about, man, I'm going to get a lot of validation about this from other people and about how cool this picture is. And, and that's definitely, for me, like that was bad enough that it made it worthwhile to get rid of all my social media.
Yeah, the funny thing when you were just talking about that, going on a hike and stuff, I've always had issues with kind of being in the present moment and not being there and thinking ahead to the future. But in my mind, it's just funny because social media has never been a problem in that way for me. I've never had those thoughts like, I've had the thoughts like, I want to take a picture. Hopefully, like, I'll get a bunch of likes. But it never, like, on a hike would I think that. I think, like, what am I going to eat for dinner?
Oh, yeah, food. You always got food on the mind.
A steak? I know it says right in the Bible, like, we should not be worried about what we're going to have to eat that night. And I always remember that, but I still, like, I get worried about it. Like, man, this hike is awesome, but, like, what do I want to have for supper to reward myself? But that's just a side.
That's just another side.
Just another way to not be in the present moment. But I think it's just realizing what it is about you that affects you. Like, if social media is going to affect you negatively, maybe just take a break from it. Take a couple months and see if it helps. We're going to talk more about how do we really solve this problem, for us individually. But it really takes that look at yourself and how it's affecting you. Like Miranda said, she decided that she needed to get away from it and decided to completely deactivate her page. And I 100% support her in that, because there's you don't have to have it. It's not like this thing you have to have.
But it was hard.
It shouldn't be a big deal either way if you don't want to have it.
Because it was right around the time when we were about to leave Pennsylvania, about to leave our family, having everyone close by, and, you know, getting rid of Facebook too was kind of like severing another connection. And, you know, all my family's on there, and that's like an easy way to communicate with people. But for me, it's very helpful that you still have a Facebook, because they still... Right now, Jordan is part of Justine's Bridesmaid Facebook group, which is amazing.
This does happen to me. He
gets tagged in all the conversation about bridesmaids' dresses and all the bachelorette trips. So he has to suffer a little bit for me not having a Facebook.
You do always go on my page and check it for certain things. Not always.
Yeah.
But you'll scroll every once in a while just to kind of see what's happening.
Yeah, just to see if there's
behind the scenes
an invite, or if somebody had a baby, or someone got married.
Yeah, because those are things I forget to tell you, and we do get invites to like family stuff.
I'm like, whoa, so and so had a baby. You're like, yeah, they're 4 years old.
Yeah, and you're like, why didn't you tell me about this event? I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was my responsibility to tell you about every Facebook event. So, had issues with that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the question we want to answer today is...
We took 20 minutes to get to the question.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
It took us a while to get there.
It's all good. No, good. It was good stuff. Good discussion. I love that.
How do you stay connected in a world that is so overly connected?
You wouldn't think it'd be a problem.
You would.
But it's crazy.
How do you create and sustain lasting and really good relationships with people in a world where you can just text someone real quick after a year of not communicating? Hey, how you been? Good. How have you been? Good. And that's it for another year. So we have a few ideas we wanted to throw out there. And the first one is, it's obvious, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but limit your social media time.
It relates to what we were just talking about.
Yeah. Even if you don't want to get rid of your Facebook, it's too crucial to your life and making things happen, that's fine. Not everyone needs to get rid of it.
It could be part of your business too. That's actually one of the reasons I keep it.
Yeah.
Because like we can share stuff about our podcast on there. I can do stuff with Archangel Inc. on there. Like it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me not to have Facebook.
Yeah,
you can do a lot of things business wise through Facebook.
Yeah,
just want to throw that in there real quick.
You need it, and a lot of other people do too. A lot of other people really enjoy it, and that's fine. For me, I kind of bounce back and forth. I go total cold turkey on things, and I just, cut the ties with certain things, but then I'll come back later and be like, nah. I did when I was a kid. We would always play The Sims. Did you ever play that?
I never did. I know what it is though.
We were so addicted to that game. We played it all the time. Ashlyn, Justine, and I were like, we made so many families. We knew the cheat code, Rosebud something, and you could get all the money. But
and you make fun of me for playing video games and stuff. I've got to remember this.
But one day,
I knew this, but I need to remember this. She's trying to move on before I really get into it.
But this is the point. Like for me, one day I was like, I am just spending too much time on this game, and I just stopped playing The Sims forever. And that was like the end of me playing The Sims. I just was like, I'm spending too much time on this. I'm done with this.
Just another reason why I have mad love and respect for you, Miranda. It's amazing because that's not the only time you've been able to do that.
But I
can't think of another example, but I know you are very much like, that's not good for me. I'm not going to do that anymore. Bye-bye. And you're just very much like, you make that decision like really easily.
Yeah, and I think it helps. I am an old soul.
Well, yes, that's
and I
true.
I like to be off the grid a bit, so it's one of those things too. But going back to the advice, limit social media time. It's so easy to have Facebook as your automatic page when you open up Internet Explorer or Firefox, or what's the one we always use?
Chrome.
Gotta give
the
Chrome
only
a shout out.
Use?
I knew you would be offended by that.
Come on, man.
But try not to have that be your first page that comes up. I know there's a phrase for that. I know I should know what it is, but I'm totally blanking. Homepage?
Yeah.
Homepage. try to have
Google's
something else.
my homepage.
Yeah.
It's Chrome, and I've never changed it.
Yeah. But if you have Facebook as your homepage, you're going to just open it up, and before you know it, it's going to be 2 hours later. You're going to be deep in the depths of that scroll down, and you're going to be like, what just happened? I think I blacked out. What? So
I don't know what it is about scrolling on Facebook that is so, like, weirdly...
It's like you can keep going.
It's weirdly addicting. I do that sometimes, and I catch myself, like, 5 minutes in. I'm like, why?
It's like, maybe if I just scroll a little more, there'll be something I really want to see next. And you just keep going. And you're like, why am I doing this? And you're just, there's that potential for that positive reinforcement of seeing something that, you know, a funny video or a picture of family. And I don't know. It's such a strong inclination. It's so hard to stop scrolling. It just keeps going.
Yep. One thing that's helped me, and this is not really a good suggestion, but it's funny. I completely flooded my Facebook page with free Kindle book groups because I wanted to share my book on those. And now Miranda says, even when I look at your Facebook, there's nothing on it except for books.
It's just
and websites.
All it is book covers, literally.
I can't get rid of them.
Nonstop. Just you keep scrolling forever. That's all you'd ever see on Jordan's Facebook page.
It's completely flooded right now, and it's basically it's not even really worth scrolling anymore. So hey, if you have to do it that way, if deactivated isn't going to work for you, just like a bunch of pages, join a bunch of groups that you have no interest in, make your Facebook page worthless, and then there's nothing you can do about it after that. So if you really want to quit cold turkey, you can always reactivate your account, just flood it and destroy it.
Be so uninterested in what's in your Facebook feed, you can't even look at it anymore.
And do it in a way that you never could find every page and every page you liked. Yeah, if you do it harsh enough, you won't be able to recover.
That's good. That's good advice.
It's not really that good advice, but it did happen to me by accident.
I like it. It's a method.
If you really have to,
Yeah, so another thing you can do is actually call somebody. Nowadays, our generation has such a hard time calling people. So for us, we feel so much more comfortable sending things online, emailing, instead of calling a place. That just seems crazy.
Yeah, calling a place to make an order sounds insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the same thing. Calling anyone.
Why
would I call someone when I can just text them? Like I really have a hard time with that.
Yeah,
I don't like talking on the phone. People call me and I'm like, why are you calling me? But it's good.
You look at your phone in horror like,
no, I do.
Do I answer
like,
it?
My phone ringing stresses me out. I don't like that because then I have to decide whether to answer it or not. Usually I don't, but I just don't like that. But I shouldn't dislike that. I should like that. Like, oh, someone's trying to call me? Like, that's great. Like, I should answer.
Yeah. And I think certain things with technology you definitely should go with the easier way. For example, when we worked at the retirement community, we would have sweet old ladies come in on their walker and say, can you look up this dentist in the yellow pages? And I'd be like, you know what? I'll do you one better. I'll Google it right now, and I'll get you an answer in 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a phone book? No, we actually don't have a phone book. What business are you trying to find? Like, yeah. Yeah,
it was always like, you know what? I know a better way, and I'm going to get you the same information real fast.
And they were like, how did you get that so fast?
It's like, I can give you 20 reviews on this dentist. Yeah. I can give you where that dentist grew up, their schooling. It's crazy.
And there are some older people that are very good with technology, but I mean, for the most part, don't really know.
You can't blame them, though.
No?
Just imagine the technology they were born into and how much has changed since, for them it was just calling people, writing letters. And now it just exploded. There's so much.
Do you think that they were really more connected, though?
More connected, like real connection, like
real connection. Do you think they're more like real connected? I'm just asking because you're the old soul. You have a good touch in that.
The old soul. I really think they did. I think they were better. They had to socially interact with people. They couldn't, they couldn't just be like, well, I'm going to order this pizza online,
That's very true.
They probably had to go and, say, I want a pizza to somebody.
They had to take a horse and buggy.
That's just crazy. They had to jump in that horse and buggy and
go down to Papa John's. And
yeah. So I think they had to just out of necessity. They had to be better at dealing with people because there was no other option. If they were bad with dealing with people, then they were, you know, kind of limited in what they could do.
Yeah.
But obviously I'm sure there were people who felt isolated and lonely people, and, you know, there's always going to be that in the world. But for us, it's so easy for us to take the easy way out and just, instead of actually calling someone and say, hey, like, how have you been? Tell me about your life right now. Instead of just, I'm just going to text someone quick, like, how's life?
Yep.
You know? And I think you do miss some of that social interaction by doing that.
Yep.
So some other things you can do, other than just limiting social media time, I highly suggest off-the-grid time. Time when you turn the phone off completely, not just on silent, because that's still a big old temptation right there. Turn off the phone completely, hide it somewhere if you need to, shut down the computer, you know, turn off the TV, throw a blanket over it, whatever you have to do to avoid that temptation. And even if it's just an hour or two, spend time reading a book or playing a board game, having that interaction with the people you live with that's not just screen time. Because that's how memories are made, not by watching funny videos on YouTube.
Yeah, and I think we all can be, we all can kind of get, like, scared, I think. Like, oh, what if something happens? Like, what if someone needs to call me? Or what if someone, like, really needs me in that time? Especially if you're only shutting it off for a few hours. Nothing's going to happen, most likely. I mean, something could happen. But, I mean, for the most part, like, we're not going to miss anything in that few hours of time. Something I started doing, and this is mostly because Miranda's been rubbing off on me so much, but if I don't have to set an alarm for the next day, and if I'm going to bed early enough, I know I'll wake up in time for anything anyway. I've been plugging my phone in the kitchen just to have it completely, you know, out of sight. So that's two things. So it's not right next to my bed. I don't need to look at it before I go to bed. Okay. And then also I don't need to get up and just reach for my phone and lay in bed for an hour and just look at Facebook. And I've done that before, and I don't like that. I know probably a lot of us have done that before. Grab the phone, start watching YouTube videos, and you're like, oh man, I'm awake, but I'm just laying here, you know, whatever.
Time just slips away so quickly.
Yeah, you're like, I need to get up, and especially for me, because I need to just make my own schedule, and I need to get up and start working. No one's there telling me that I need to get up at a certain time. That's awesome, and I love that freedom. I feel so very blessed to have that freedom. And I don't want to squander that by just laying in bed, you know, for an extended period of time. But it is interesting because I don't have anyone telling me to get up. So it's like you do have to be disciplined in that way, because I'm not going to be late for work. I'm not going to be, unless I have like a call or anything. But for the most part, my calls are in the evenings. I'm not going to be late to anything. So if I don't get started and working until like midnight, I meant noon or like 1 o'clock, no one's going to say anything. But that's not how I like to do business, because I know Miranda's counting on me. So I try to get up and going as early as I can. But all that to say, having my phone in the other room charging is good. And for the most part, you know, if there was any true emergency, I'm sure someone would be able to get me. Yeah.
And for me, it's funny because I am so paranoid of being late to work. I have 5 different alarms on my phone, and then I also have my physical alarm clock set just as a backup, because I get so paranoid about sleeping through my alarm or it not going off, my phone updating, and then it doesn't, like, the alarm doesn't go off.
You are so funny about that, because it's so very specific to work.
It's such a specific
phobia. You don't care for
phobia.
late to anything else.
I know. It's like, why? It's
being late to work phobia. Yeah. Like that's what it is.
I wonder if there's a cool name for that.
You're not afraid of too many things, but you're afraid of that.
Being late to work. It is very stressful for me. So, yeah. So I have to have my phone next to the bed, because otherwise I'd be freaking out. So there's that.
Yes.
Another thing you can do, which goes hand in hand with being off the grid at home, is be off the grid while you're going out. If you're going on a date night with your hubby, Go out.
Or your Wi-Fi.
Or your Wi-Fi. I think most people say Wi-Fi.
I don't care. I say Wi-Fi.
We're the weird ones, but
yeah, we know.
Put the phone away. Don't. I always tell this to Jordan. I hate when we're both standing somewhere and we're both looking at our phones. I'm like, oh, we look like such millennials right now.
No, that's kind of your rule. We kind of follow that ever since you kind of instigated that, and that's fine.
We're only gonna have one phone out at a time.
If we have one phone out, we're talking about we're looking up a movie or we're looking up something on the phone, and that's fine. If we have one phone, then we're communicating about what we're looking at. But if not allowed to both be on the phone, I agree with Miranda. I think I probably fought it a little bit at first, and I was like, that's weird. But it's fine. It's actually really good. So I love that rule.
Well, that's good. Yeah. It's just something that when I see us doing it, I'm just like annoyed. I'm annoyed at myself. Why?
Yeah.
But you'll find the conversation will be much better if you both have your phones away. Because your phone is just a portal into the universe. The univoice. And it's just a portal into so many things. You have games, you have the news, you have text message, you know.
Emails, business-related items, Google
everything.
Analytics.
So put it away and
all those things.
You'll find your focus. It's just, whoo, it comes back. It's amazing. So just try it out. Give it a shot. Go on a date night or go out with a friend or with family and say, let's just keep our phones away and see what crazy things happen.
Yep.
So I think that's advice. Again, it's obvious advice, and I'm sure it's advice you've heard before, but I don't know. I just feel like we can't preach it enough. It's a really important thing to try to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the millennial generation has so much to give, and I think we're the greatest generation ever. I think we have so much potential. I think it's good to think about those things like that. You don't really want to, it does matter how others perceive you. But yeah, don't be sitting there with both of you on your phones. I get frustrated when I see other people at restaurants do that. And I'm like, oh man, like you are supposed to like go out on a date and connect with each other. Like, it's fine that you have phones. It's fine that you're connected in that way, but you need to be willing to pull away from that connection. I think that's the important kind of lesson that we're getting at. If you're going to be connected in this world, then that's great. Like there's so much positive stuff that comes from that. There's so much goodness in that, but you also need to be willing to unplug and get away as well. Not only willing, but you really have to force yourself to, because if you don't force yourself to, if you don't make those decisions, things are just going to happen. You're going to wake up in bed and scroll Facebook for an hour. You're going to be checking your phone all day, every day. So I think it's just being intentional and making those decisions. That's just really important.
Yeah, and I'll say too, for introverts, when I'm out in a public situation and I feel...
A public situation.
Did I say that funny?
I don't know why that was funny.
But if I'm at all uncomfortable or feeling socially awkward, I will just pull out my phone subconsciously, and it's just like, I'm just looking at, I don't know what, but I can't handle the situation, so I'm just all of a sudden really focused on my phone, like I have something really important going on, but it's just my, like, defense mechanism of, I don't know what to do with my hands, and it's just the easy way out to be like, I'm texting somebody on my phone, and this is important stuff I have to deal with right now. But, I challenge you also in those situations to try to just, okay, I'm not going to pull my phone out. I'm just going to try to figure out this small talk thing. And
I'm just going to stare at the person across from me really awkwardly and smile. And think about the fact that my phone's in my pocket.
So
to wrap it up, Miranda, what are the last two?
Well, the one we already kind of said, just instead of watching TV or a show together, try reading a book or play a board game. We love board games. Give it a shot. It's just doing something where you're looking at each other and present is so valuable.
Yep.
And this is just more of like a fun tip for people.
Yeah, this is a fun tip.
Yeah.
I like this tip. This is good. And actually, we've been kind of doing this ourselves more often lately, and it's very effective.
We're trying. Yeah, we're trying. We're trying to improve where we can. But when somebody you haven't seen in a while, you're like, oh, hey, how have you been? we need to get coffee sometime. And that can turn into absolutely nothing happening ever if you just, and the other person's like, oh yeah, and you both genuinely want to get coffee. It's not
that's
like
the important part. If you both really want, if you don't want to, don't follow this. But if you do,
if it's somebody,
want it to happen, then
if it's a stalker you're trying to avoid, don't follow this advice. But
exactly.
If they say, oh yeah, we need to get coffee, sometimes it feels like you're being too forward if you immediately say, well, how does next Thursday work? It feels a little unnatural. It feels like maybe I should wait because I don't want to seem too desperate to get coffee, or I don't know what it is in our brains that makes us think, you know what, we're definitely going to make this happen later, so I don't need to figure this out now.
Yeah, it's that whole like I'll feel better about doing it tomorrow thing that we talked about on a different episode. It's that thing in our mind that
you're like, later I'll be able to tackle this, but you're going to feel the same way later.
Later I'll be able to figure this out, or later I'll schedule, and no,
it's not going to happen.
It doesn't work like that. But it's crazy how our minds
make you think. Yeah. So if
like we said, we're not great with that either. So
so if someone says, oh man, we need to get coffee and catch up, you should just say, yes, we should. How does this day work for you? Or what does your schedule look like next week? Just immediately try to make some sort of plan. If you go back and forth 5 times, you're like, oh, I can't do Tuesday, I gotta work late. And you're like, oh, well, I can't do Wednesday, the kids have a talent show. You're like, oh, I can't do Thursday, I have to go square dancing. At a certain point, you do kind of have to cut your losses and say, okay, we'll figure this out later. But sometimes you'll be surprised. You'll be like, oh, how does next Wednesday work? They'll be like, oh, yeah, that works. Let's do it. And then it actually happens, and it's amazing.
Yeah, because there's always a chance that the other person doesn't really want to either.
Yeah, you have to watch out to make sure you're not the creepy stalker.
You might be. Yeah, it's one of those things. If you or the other person doesn't really want to make it happen, then that's okay. But this is for both parties want to make it happen. Try setting a time instead of just leaving it vague and up in the air. It's definitely more likely to happen.
Yeah. So, just to wrap up this whole crazy ball of
this episode was
sidetracks.
Fun. I liked it.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of good stuff. I got to vent a little bit. No.
You did. I feel like we've been getting a lot of emotions out of you in these.
Yeah, you keep pulling it out of me. I'm not even ready to talk.
I'm not even fishing for it. All of a sudden, it's like, ooh, we touched on a touchy subject.
It's all right.
But no, that's great. Just, if you feel lonely or you feel depressed or sad, you feel like people don't understand you, or people don't like you, whatever kind of self-doubt you have, a lot of it could be due to all of this connectedness and just putting up a picture on Instagram and just waiting for the likes to pour in. Try just disconnecting from the technological world for a little while and try having real face-to-face communication with people. It may seem awkward at first. It may be hard to kind of get out of the habit of just texting people, the habit of having your phone out when you're out with a friend, but I dare you to give it a shot. If it doesn't work for you, you can angrily troll Jordan's Facebook, because I don't have one, and tell him how it didn't work. But otherwise, I'm sure you'll find that you will feel a greater depth of connection with people, and you will really feel much more connected by being unconnected.
Yep.
It's a paradox.
Yep. And we say this as we both are, as we've said before, both very much introverts, and we're just trying to get better at this stuff and trying to be more connected with people. And yeah, just being able to talk with people in person. I wouldn't have said it before, but man, it's huge. It makes so much difference. And if you get nothing else from this episode, really just think about that. Try to think about ways you can just spend time with people in person, and just do your best to make that happen.
Exactly. So yeah, have a wonderful day, Freedom Casters, and stay frosty.
Yeah, stay frosty, friends. We'll talk to you later.